Bill Gates claims people will not give up their way of life for the sake of climate change. Billionaire Bill Gates has ruled out people making their major lifestyle changes, such as cutting out meat and becoming vegetarians, to combat the supposed effects of climate change. He says, "I don't think we can count on people living impoverished lifestyles to be the solution to climate change," Gates said at an event in India on March 1st. He says, meat consumption in India will be less. That's great. Will all Indians become vegetarians? Will all Americans become vegetarians? I don't want to rely on that. Anyone who wants to evangelize this is welcome. I will not resist in any way," he said. Gates had earlier pushed wealthy nations to adopt 100% synthetic beef made from plant proteins such as beans or peas, carbohydrates such as potato starch, fats such as canola or coconut oil, minerals, and flavorings. On a Reddit webinar in January, Gates pushed for the widespread adoption of plant-based meat products. He said, "For people who want to go vegan, that's great, but I don't think most people will do that. There are companies making beef, quote-unquote, in new ways, and people working to still use cows but reduce methane emissions," he wrote. He says, "I've backed several innovators in this space, including Beyond and Impossible and Memphis. I think eventually these products will be very good, even though their market share is small today," he said. Gates' push to move away from eating meat and towards plant-based alternatives comes as he ventures into American farmland market. According to Congressman Dusty Johnson, the Microsoft founder, Gates is the largest private landowner in the United States, owning more than 270,000 acres of farmland in 19 states. Energy consumption. At the event in India, Gates also spoke about energy consumption. He pointed out that if governments are willing to enforce strict laws, air conditioning could simply be banned, which would be good for the climate. However, he admitted that this will not happen, as a warmer climate will continue to increase demanding for cooling. Gates also pointed out that most of the demand for more energy, cement and steel, comes from middle-income countries like India. He says, where even if we stop at, say, a quarter of American energy intensity, climate change is very, very dramatic. The Microsoft co-founder also suggests that even with the United States using half the energy per person, it would be unfair to ask India to maintain consumption at its current level. According to our World in Data, energy used per person in the United States was 76,734 kilometer hours in 2021, which is almost 11 times higher than India's energy consumption of 6,992 kilowatts hours per capita. So that, the United States consumption is 11 times higher. Climate change agenda. Last year, Patrick Moore, one of the founders of Greenpeace, argued that climate change is based on false narratives. In an email obtained by Epoch Times, Moore, who left the organization in 1986, said Greenpeace was hatched by the political left when they realized the money and power involved in the environmental movement. He said the environmental movement has become more of a political movement than an environmental movement. He said they're mostly focused on creating narratives, stories designed to instill fear and guilt in the public, so they send them money. In June last year, the independent foundation Climate Intelligence, Clintel for short, received signatures from more than 1,100 scientists and practitioners around the world for the World Climate Declaration, WCD, which declares that there is no climate emergency. In an interview with the Epoch Times, Marcel Kroc, founder of Clintel, said that even if it were accepted that carbon dioxide is the main driver of today's climate change, there is still no climate emergency, he said. He said, "We are simply stating that all the evidence so far shows that rising carbon dioxide and warming are not harmful to us or nature, and therefore the climate hysteria surrounding the issue is completely unwarranted, and the cure, get rid of fossil fuels as soon as possible and replace them with renewable energy sources. It will probably be worse than the disease, climate change." This is from the Epoch Times Greece, and I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box